Hello, thanks for checking out my video. Welcome to my channel, Jersey Shore Pondscapes Videos. My name is Chris and we talk all about everything you can think of when it comes to water gardens, koi ponds, waterfalls, aquatic plants and fish and filters and the whole bit. So if you are building a pond and you need some help and some advice, or you have a pond and you'd like to learn a little more about it, please subscribe to the channel, hit the like button, and check out my videos. I have a ton of videos here with a lot of really cool information for you guys, and hopefully you can find something that can help you out. Okay, so today's video we are talking about these waterfall filter boxes. All right, now this is a type of a filter that's very common, and they come in several different shapes and sizes, but they're all pretty much the same idea and the same concept. So we're going to talk all about these today, and I'm going to kind of teach you some things I like about them, some things I don't like about them so much, and some things to be aware of and little tips and tricks as far as installing them, okay? So basically, I have a ton of customers, clients who have these things on their ponds. I typically don't use them, okay? However, I would say that they are actually a very good filter. The reason why I don't use them is because all my ponds have 4-inch bottom drains and they're all gravity fed filter systems, okay? I don't like using these because to me I see too many waterfalls that look like a pile of rock trying to hide this box, okay? I don't want to do that. I don't want this thing in my waterfalls, right? I want to make my waterfall, and my filters are my filters someplace else, okay? However, like I said, these are very common, and typically, they work very well. It's a very simple concept, the way these things work. This particular box, on the back here, there is a 2-inch bulkhead fitting, okay, something like this, that goes into the bottom of the tank over here, okay, and that's where your pipe will come in, your water supply will come in from your pump, okay. So what typically happens is the water comes in the bottom of the tank, it flows up through several layers of filter pads, okay, like this. And then this particular model comes with a nylon mesh media bag, which we can fill up with different types of media here for some biological filtration. So the pads act basically as what we call mechanical filter, all right? They're going to help settle out all the dirt and debris and sludge out of the water, and then we can put something in here for a biological filtration that will sit on top of these pads, all right? I like to use this plastic ribbon material called Biofill in these bags because it's really lightweight. It's got a lot of surface area for the bacteria to grow on, and it's very easy and lightweight to take it out and clean, okay? You can check out what Biofill is on one of my other videos that I did on pond filtration, talking about different types of filtration, and I'm sure I have an example of that Biofill on that channel, video. Now, in the bottom of this tank, you will see here these little ridges, right? These little bumps. And what this is it's actually molded in here to hold these PVC pipes. And these PVC pipes, I'll flip this over, lay on the bottom here, okay? And these pads go on top of those pipes. That supports the pads so the water can come in freely underneath the pads, right? All the garbage, the heavy sludge and sediment can build up and settle on the bottom, and then the water filters through the pads, okay? Once the water goes through the pads, again, we put the media bag on top with, whatever, bio balls, sponges, whatever kind of media we want to put in this bag on top, all right? Now, a lot of times I've gone to people's houses and I've seen these bags buried on the bottom of the tank with the pads on top. All right, that's wrong. We don't want to do that. All right, and the reason being is if we're trying to grow bacteria on this media in here for a biological filter, right? We don't want it to be covered up with sludge and muck and garbage, right? We want it to be a clean, oxygen-rich environment. So by putting that bag on the bottom where all that sludge goes, that bag gets totally covered and it's a mess, all right? So the bags go on top. Sometimes if it's a lightweight media, we might have to put a rock on top of the bag just to hold it down in place. All right, sometimes one bag, sometimes two bags, whatever, you know, whatever you want to put in here. Okay. Now, a typical common installation for these that I see a lot is basically to have a skimmer on one end of the pond, all right, that with either a sump pump in it or an external pump pulling from it. Then it would go through a UV, all right, a UV light, and then back up and into the top, you know, into the back of your waterfall into the bottom of this tank where it then overflows. So typically we want to put, if we're doing a system like that, we want to put the skimmer on the opposite end of the pond from where the filter is, all right? We don't want our filter here and our skimmer here, because if we do that, we're simply pulling the water from here and returning it right there, right? We don't want to do that. We want to pull the water from that end of the pond, pump it all the way around to this end of the pond so we circulate that whole body of water, okay? That's a real common installation. The thing that I don't really like about that, all right, is typically we want to put our UV lights in after our filter systems, all right? Couple reasons for that is we don't want to kill any bacteria before it gets into the filter tank. We want our bacteria to grow in here. So with a UV light, you know, installed first, you know, the water is going to be going through that UV light first before it gets here. So, I mean, it's not ideal. You'll still get some bacteria to grow and build up in here, you know, I'm sure. But ideally, like for me, you know, my filter systems, the water goes through my filters first, then the pump pulls it out of the filter, then it goes through a UV light, then it goes back to the pond. So here we got to do a little bit different. Now, obviously, you know, we have no options to put the UV light after this because the water's just spilling out of here, right? So we have to put it in before. Not a big deal, but it's just something to think about, all right? So the thing with these, some of these filters come with this lip here in the front that's detached. Some of them have this lip actually built right into the mold. It's all one piece. This particular filter is two pieces. This lip comes off the front here. I'll show you some pictures. We have these big bumps here where these screws go in. I don't know if you can see it from here, but I'll show you a close-up. There's screws in here, okay, that bolt all this into, you know, the lip to the main tank. So typically when we want to install these, what we're going to look to do, you know, is this lip is off. We're going to bring our liner up, okay? We're going to bring our liner up from the pond, right up the face of this thing, right? Totally all up through here. Then we're going to put this, we're going to silicone. I try to silicone both sides of that liner. Put this lip in and then screw all our, you know, screws in, all right? Now, this tank is a little different than the majority of them that I see. And the reason is because this tank actually screws in this way, okay? Most tanks, I typically see the screws going in here, all right? You know, it's just a different company, right? So either way, all right. Now, if you have one of these where the lip is all, you know, molded in, it's all one piece, the advantage and disadvantage. The advantage is we don't have to worry about seaming our liner in between here, all right? The disadvantage is we have to make sure that that liner stays propped up here underneath this lip. All right. If it settles down and we get spill and, you know, the water drips through, it can leak. All right. Installing these, we need to make sure that they are perfectly level, or maybe a slight pitch forward. Okay, just a slight pitch forward. What tends to happen, and I see quite often, that over a period of time, sometimes these tanks settle, and when they settle, they might go a little, right, a little out of level. So then what happens is all the water pours out of one side instead of the whole sheet, you know, level on the front. So make sure you have a really nice, firm, solid base underneath these things. It's quite often that I see them not only level being off, you know, left or right, but sometimes back or forward, all right? Forward ain't so bad, but if they should go back, tip back slightly, it can be a real problem, because now the water is going to run off the front, come under and run down the back. If we have a slight pitch forward, our water will not come back up inside and run down, right? It's gonna drip off. So, you know, that's why I always try to keep them a little tip forward, but not very much. Now, a couple other little things here. When it comes to plumbing in these tanks, okay, like I said, we have an input coming in the back here. This one has a 2-inch bulkhead fitting. Some tanks have, some bigger tanks have 2 pipes or 2 bulkheads, maybe one on this side and one on this side, all right? You know, so you can hook 2 pumps up to it, because some of these tanks are really big, right? So if you have, you know, 2 pumps, you can put 2 into it. Or I think even something better that would be to take advantage of is have one input be your pump and your other bulkhead on this side to make into a drain. Okay, so if you have this thing up elevated anywhere and it's possible to run a pipe out as a drain pipe with like a ball valve, that would be awesome, okay, because it'd be really easy to clean this. However, a lot of them only have one input, right? One bulkhead going in. So here's what we need to do if we want to put a drain onto it, right? We're going to bring our pipe in, but before we get into the tank here, maybe put a T, all right, with a ball valve on the main pipe going in, and then a ball valve here on the T that goes out. This way it can act as your input, and then we can close the valve on the water coming in, and then an out for a drain can come out and go out the T and open that valve going out, all right? So something like that would work. Now, another big thing here for you, okay? Here's a pro tip, all right? There's a thing called a check valve. A check valve is a valve that only allows water to flow in one direction. Usually there's a flap inside the valve, and when water is flowing this way, okay, let's say our water's going this way, right? The flap opens and the water goes through. If the water tries to come back the other way, the flap closes, all right, and it blocks the water from flowing in this direction. A check valve is a great thing for these filters, because again, I can't tell you how many times I've seen these things set up without check valves. And what happens is, let's say you have a skimmer, right, with a sump pump in the skimmer, and you know the pipe comes out from the pump, from the skimmer, and it comes all the way around the side of your pond and into the back of this. It works great. So let's say you want to shut off the pond for whatever reason, or you want to clean this thing out, all right? You unplug the pump. All the water in here, being that it's up on the top of a filter at a higher elevation, is going to all flow back out. And I've had mud and sludge and junk and all kinds of crap coming back out through my skimmer and back into my pond, because all the garbage in the bottom of this tank, when you shut the pump off, is going to want to flow back. So if we put a check valve in line here, or even in line by the pump, anywhere, okay, it will stop this dirty water that's filled up in this tank from backflowing back when we shut our pumps off, okay? Really important, all right? So between a check valve here and then maybe a ball valve if we need, or two for the drain, okay, so we can run a drain off to the side. Those are great little tips for you. All right, now, when it comes to a flaw that these have, and it's not a major thing, but it is something that I do see quite often. These filters that have the lips that have to be screwed or, you know, bolted on, all right? It's a great design. They work great. Once we have our, you know, liner all, you know, set in here and we attach our lip, we want to come with a utility knife and cut that liner off here. Okay? Cut off all the liner so it's nice and clean. Now, this little gap, all right, I'm going to show you pictures here. This little gap in between the two pieces, all right, where the liner comes up, has to be siliconed. All right, we have to put a nice big thick heavy bead of silicone here all on the top to keep our water from going down. All right, so herein lies the little flaw. All right, not a big deal, but it's something that you need to be aware of. I get so many phone calls with people that have a leak in their pond. Okay, and as soon as I get over there and I see that they have one of these filters, the first thing I'm looking at is this bead of silicone here. All right, 9 times out of 10 that silicone is no longer solid or sticking or attached, or, you know, it's degrading, right? So the water leaks between the little lip here and the main body of the tank, and it goes back behind the liner. So we need to basically clean out all the old silicone that we have here, make sure it dries, clean it off, any dirt and stuff, and then just reapply a nice bead of silicone here on the top. All right, now that's the easiest part, and that's the most common thing. But what I have also found, that in some of these filters that are much older, okay, we're talking over 10 years old, maybe, you know, 15 years old or more, all the screws, whether it's screwed in from the front or screwed in from the back, all the screws start to deteriorate. When those screws deteriorate, all right, we're left with a big hole where the screw used to be, okay, where the screw used to go through. There's now a hole, and the water leaks right out those holes, all right? Even cases where the lip in the front here has pulled away from the main body of the tank because those screws are no longer holding it in. So it comes apart. So instead of having this little, you know, 1/8 inch gap, now we might have, you know, 3/8 of an inch gap, and the water's just pouring down inside there, and we have a major leak. So we need to, you know, make sure that these bolts are not deteriorated and we don't have holes. Sometimes when I put a new bead of silicone here across on this, lip, I also put some silicone on my fingers and I surround the ends of the screws that come through here, and I just cover them all with silicone so I make sure everything is sealed. All right. That's a very common thing, and I'm telling you, if you have one of these, eventually it's going to happen. All right. So just be aware of what you need to do to fix it. Now you can put new screws in, but you can't put the screw into necessarily the same hole. All right. You're going to have to fill up the old holes with silicone and then put new screws in next to it to kind of hold it together. That's your best bet to try to fix that. Okay. Now, some of these filters come with a little fake looking rock kind of thing that would sit on the front here. Okay, so this one does not come with this filter. This is just one that I had off of another job, an old thing that I ripped out, and I kept it for what reason I don't know, but I kept it, I guess, because I need one on my video. So this would typically be siliconed or like foamed, like that pond foam stuff. You can put it all on here and set this right in the front here. And what's nice with these little spill stones is that it extends the water out beyond the rock, right? So you can get a nice spill off of it. And it kind of covers up, the black plastic. Now, as I said before, I like these filters because they work. They actually are a great filter, and it's a simple concept the way it works, and it's awesome. Okay, but what I don't like about it, right, was, like I said, the fact of a waterfall becoming a pile of rocks trying to hide this box. All right, sometimes it's really tough to make these things, well, at least in my eyes, look good on the top of a waterfall. All right. Don't get me wrong, you can be creative, and I'm sure it can be done where it does look really nice. But you stack your rock up in the front here, right? And the water has to spill down over it and come down your rock. So this gives you this design of having a basin with a spillway like this. Gives you a really nice, even flow of like a cascade of water over the front, which can be really nice. All right. Sometimes that flow, if you have a big round rock in the middle of it, it kind of looks weird because now it's kind of hitting a rock and splashing all over. Just not, to me, not natural, but you certainly can be creative and make these look good. Okay. The only thing is, you're going to have all your rock work here, you're going to have all your rock work down the sides, and then you're going to have this big open box on the top. Right? You're going to see this big open, black plastic thing on the top. Now, you can build rock up the side. You can cover these. I've seen people cover these with, one large rock or a flat rock, a piece of bluestone, something like that. However, don't put something too heavy on these things because you have to be able to remove it to clean these pads and stuff out, okay? So just keep that in mind, that you cover them, but you do need to get at them. The other thing is with these, I see a lot of people do, is they put water plants in the top. Anything, little potted plants that come out, yeah, I mean, it works, okay? Just make sure that those plants, all right, and if you don't clean these filters periodically, all the roots from those plants will grow out of the pots and down into your filter pads. And your filter pads are going to be all loaded with roots, all right? So just keep that in mind if you put plants in here. The other thing I've seen done is they put water hyacinths in here, right? Those little floating plants. again, just to hide it, right? The water hyacinths, yeah, I mean, they look fine in there. The thing that you need to be concerned about and think about with them is that they are blocking the water flow coming out of here, all right? If, you know, some of these, like I said, some of these boxes, there's all different ones. This has a pretty high, tall lip here. Some of them are thinner, shorter, right, smaller. If you block the water flow here, the water level is going to raise behind it. Just make sure that you're not blocking so much water that the water is building up here and overflowing, especially if there's a little pitch or this thing is out of level, all right? You know, that the water's not coming over the back of some of these tanks. This one's pretty big, you know, deep on the top, but some of them are not. They're only, you know, an inch or two, and blocking that water flow, now you've got a big leak, all right? Just something else to think about, all right? So, I mean, I think we've covered a lot of information here for you on these. Kind of give you a good idea of how they work. They are very common, they're very popular filters, they work really well. But for me, I just, like I said, all my ponds have 4-inch bottom drains. They're all gravity-fed systems in the filter tanks and pumps and everything that are external, and I pump my water back to a waterfall, strictly a beautiful waterfall. And I don't have to worry about hiding these boxes or anything inside them. Now, these things can also be used too if you're putting a stream bed in, like a long, you know, stream off your pond, put it at the end, and these can, you know, feed right off and spill right down and right into a stream. It works great as well. Really nice filters, right? Work really well mechanically and biologically, all right? Do the maintenance on them, keep them clean. Like any other filter, the cleaner you keep the filter, the cleaner it's going to keep your pond, all right? These pads should definitely come out and be cleaned, you know, every couple weeks, once a month, whatever. But they work really well. They're going to collect a lot of garbage, so keep them nice and clean, all right? Again, biggest issue, the silicone bead in the front here over time can deteriorate, and even longer, you know, time, the screws can deteriorate there and you have the holes. So just keep that in mind. Otherwise, that pretty much wraps up, you know, my little video here on these filters. I think we've covered a lot of ideas here for you. All right, so thanks for watching the video. Please hit the like button. Subscribe to the channel if you're into the koi ponds and stuff. There's a ton of information here that I hope can help you out. So thanks for watching, and we'll see you again, hopefully in another video. Take care. Thank you. Bye.